Welcome to Future Roundnet podcast, Navigating the Courts, the podcast that digs deep into the world of Roundnet. I'm your host, Jakub, and today we have an episode that's set to spike your curiosity and serve up some serious inspiration. In this exclusive, her first ever long-form interview, we are joined by none other than Laura Kunzelmann, the reigning queen of Roundnet and the best female Spikeball player on the planet. We'll uncover the layers of her life, both on and off the court, and trust me, it's an episode you don't want to miss. When she's not acing her opponents on the court, what does Laura's world involve? We'll explore the daily life of a champion and the training routine that keeps her at the top of her game. Ever heard of her double fault game? Laura will break down her favorite drills and share her favorite tournaments that have shaped her into the player she is today. Playing alongside the legendary Clark Marshall from the US, Laura has learned lessons that go beyond the sport. She'll share the wisdom gained from the world champion and how it's influenced her unbreakable mindset and game. From sponsorship struggles to becoming an inspiration for women everywhere, Laura's journey is one of resilience and determination. She'll reveal how she deals with failure, offering actual tips and tricks that can turn a loss into a lesson. In an exciting first for Roundnet, Laura recently made history by competing in the Open Pro division of the European Roundnet Tour Series, where she played alongside European champion Paul Zimmer from Germany. This is the highest level of competition in Europe, previously exclusive to men. Think of it like UEFA Champions League in football or soccer for our American listeners. Laura shares her emotions and feelings about it. Therefore, it does not come as a surprise that Laura's preparation for a season is meticulous and strategic. But are the current Roundnet tournaments pushing players too hard? With a playing style that's captivated audiences from all across the world, Laura also shares the experience of playing with her sister and how family ties influence the game. And finally, we'll dive into Laura's coaching career, particularly her time coaching in Portugal, in Switzerland, or at Fresh in Mallorca. What insights can she share from mentoring the next generation of Roundnet stars? So, tighten your laces and get ready to enter the court with the best. This is Future Roundnet podcast, and Laura's story is about to serve an ace you will remember. Stay tuned and let's get the ball rolling. Remember to hit subscribe to never miss an episode of Future Round podcast, and if you're as excited as we are, share this podcast with your friends. This episode is a masterclass in Roundnet, mindset, and especially female empowerment. Don't miss a second. Let's get spiking with the one and only Laura Kunzelmann. Attacke! Before we get into the interview, there's an important side note. After we recorded the episode in May, shortly afterwards, Laura decided to step back from the game for a little while. She needed some time to do a little bit of self-reflection since Roundnet has been the focal point of her life, and then she decided to create a different balance or work-life, rounded life balance, so to say. We're not sure how it would come across or when Laura would eventually return, so we held the episode because in the episode Laura is talking about being motivated and being very hungry for the next successes. However, if she took a step back, then it's not really, it's not really congruent, I would say. Anyway, we are very, very happy, and especially me, that Laura decided to go through with the publication of the interview, but more importantly, that she's back on track, back on the Roundnet courts, winning as we are used to. At the last weekend, her teams, or can I say her teams? Like she and Ines' team Nova won the women's division, and her team Triple X, or their team with German superstar Paul Zimmer, won the mixed division. So everything's back to normal. And I'm very, very excited that you guys get to witness this, that we could publish it, and you'll see really who Laura really is.
Future Roundnet.
Laura, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. Thanks for being so persistent, Jakub.
Yeah, as you said, it's been some time. I'm getting a little bit of goosebumps. It's sometime in the making of this video podcast. And I'm really, really glad that we actually get to sit down and do it, because I know you have so much value, like experience that you can share with people, not only Roundnet but also world, because you have been quite on a unique journey, and I just can't wait also to learn a little bit more about you. So very happy that you took the time now.
Thank you.
So Laura, for people who may not know you, can you maybe give us a little bit about yourself? So some hard facts, maybe where you're from and everything, and then let's start with that.
Yeah, so hello everybody. My name is Laura. I'm 25 years old. I live in Basel. I always used to live in Basel. Well, actually, I was born in Bern, but when I was 2 years old, I came here to Basel. I study sports science at the University of Basel, subject that I really like and that I really enjoy. I got to do all the different kinds of sports there, which was very nice. And yeah, so I'm almost done with that. And yeah.
And in Switzerland, for people who don't know, you guys speak, I think you have 4 national or official languages, right? Could you maybe walk us through it? How is it to live in a country which is relatively very small, and being able to, or needing to be able to speak 4 languages, or how does it actually work?
Yeah, so we do have 4 languages, but there's one language that is just like a very small amount of people that talk it. So I really never hear it or like experience it at all. So for me, it's actually just German, French, and Italian. And also Italian is more or less like not a lot. And I also don't really see it or hear it because it's just in the south of the country. So for me, it's more French and German. Yeah. So of course, in school, we learn mostly French and English. But
Okay.
yeah, I can speak some French. I understand it pretty well. But I don't speak any of the other languages. And actually not a lot of people in Switzerland speak all of these languages.
Okay, and Basel is a German-speaking city, right?
Right, yeah. But it's like right next to France and Germany. So we hear a lot of different languages, and also a lot of like people from across the border like would come and visit. So it's kind of a mix. Yeah.
I remember playing a tournament in Lausanne in 2020, I want to say. And Lausanne, they speak French, and then there were the Bern guys talking to Lausanne people, and they were speaking English, and I was like, what's going on? I mean, you're from the same country. And then it was my first time in Switzerland. I was like, oh, okay. I mean, sometimes in Germany, you have the Bavarian accent or dialect. And then if you speak someone from Northern Germany, they have difficulties understanding. And it is very funny because sometimes you will have subtitles if you have someone from Bavaria speaking on national TV, which is really crazy because originally I'm from Slovakia and it's just Slovak. So we do have some dialects, and I do understand better English than some people in the eastern part of the country, which is kind of sad, but I think that's kind of a normal thing. So you said sport and exercise science, right? So that means you're going to become, what can you become after that study, instead of being a professional Roundnet player?
Well, I think the most obvious thing is to become like a sports teacher in schools.
Okay.
That's what a lot of people do in my class. But also you can become like a personal trainer or work in like a health institution or even some kind of therapy area, or like management or media. There's a lot of different ways to go.
Okay. And do you know what you want to do?
No, I haven't fully figured that out yet. I always thought I'm gonna be like a sports teacher, but then I tried it a couple of times. And yeah, I kind of found out that it's really more about working with children and solving little problems during the class, and not really about the sports itself. Because I really like to like teach the different kinds of sports and like techniques and stuff. But this is more like a secondary thing when you teach sports. It's more about social skills and stuff, which is also nice, but it's just not sports. Yeah.
There's someone who's been teaching on different types of schools for quite a few years. And as a PE teacher, I couldn't agree more. I studied in Germany and Czech Republic and also in Australia. And the usual difference was when people were like, yeah, I'm a coach. I'm going to be a great PE teacher. And then we would always tell them, or the professor, hey, two very different things. I was like, what? Why? Because if you're a football coach or basketball, whatever, the kids want to be there, usually. Not always, but usually.
Mhm.
But in school, they have to be there. And it's exactly, I would underline, like you said, it's really about trying to get them moving at least a little bit. The level of sport is not very high. It's actually kind of sad that all of them don't know how to catch a ball. And then how can you teach them pick and roll, for example, or anything in
Mhm.
basketball if you are not able to catch a ball or handball? So it is quite challenging, but it's a completely different conversation. I like that you tried it and see like, okay, nothing for me, because I met a person once, she was in her 5th year of teaching degree and she just did her internship, so practicum. Like,
Mhm.
yeah, I don't like it. I was like, it took you 5 years to figure it out. I could have maybe tried earlier. She's like, yeah, I know. It's just, yeah. Okay. But you got some
Yeah.
valuable experience out of it.
Yeah,
So,
I might try it again at some point, or maybe like different kinds of classes, or like
mhm.
more sports classes that are like really motivated. But I think there's a lot of work to do in like how to how to teach sports in a way that like everybody can enjoy it, because I know it's not very enjoyable for everybody.
Yeah, and it's not priority for everyone, right? I mean, it
Right.
is it is quite difficult nowadays with social media, sitting down a lot. Kids also have to sit in school, then they are glued to their phones. But anyway, they would go into social studies more, and I'm definitely not an expert in that field. But you're expert in field of Roundnet. And now when you said coaching, I know that you have been coaching yourself, obviously, but also some other people recently. Could you maybe walk us through when did you start coaching Roundnet?
Well, I think I started maybe 2 years ago for the first time. Um, we did it sometimes in our local club here, that we um, kind of um, led the training by ourselves. So we would like rotate, and
Mhm.
every week someone else would do it. So that's when I first started doing it. Um, and then last year there was like a women's day in Switzerland, where I did like a full day of training. Um, and that was like maybe the first time that I really did it like in an official way, and really prepared, and like I thought a lot about it. And yeah, I was actually very surprised that it's a lot of work to prepare a clinic, and not only like to structure everything, but to really like learn how you want to explain stuff. Because obviously, like the movements for me are very automatic and very logic, and also very intuitive. So I would just do it. But when you actually start to think about what you do, and you try to put it into words, to like verbalize it, you learn a lot more. And that's what I really underestimated. But it's something that I really like about it, because I think I can really learn a lot more when I actually break everything down and think about it, and then make it more accessible for people, if you like really talk through everything, and not just show it and then you like just do it like I do it. That's not gonna work. So yeah, that's a big part that I liked about it. Mm.
I like that you mentioned it, because obviously I was laughing a little bit since I run entire coaching clinics like for
Right.
coaches, for players, and people just think, oh, you just show up and you just do your thing and then you're good. But like there is, as you said, there's so much work
Mhm.
coming like beforehand. And we had a coaching seminar for coaches with Roundnet Austria recently, and I brought this example that they taught us at the university, where imagine you want to learn basketball, right? You want to get coach in basketball, and you can choose your coach. So if someone who has never played, studied it a little bit, then you have someone who's played but was never a great player, and you have a professional player like Shaquille O'Neal, for example, a basketball legend. Like, who would you pick? Who would teach you?
Who would teach me?
Yeah, well, who would you pick? You have Shaquille O'Neal, the living legend of the game. Then you have someone who's been pretty decent, let's say, played maybe professional for a couple of years. And then you have someone who has very little experience, but they have a lot of theory. Who would you choose?
Probably Shaquille O'Neal.
Oh yeah, so you can
But
hang out.
well, no, I mean, but yeah, I say now him, but I don't think it necessarily means that he's the best one to like coach, because that's a very different thing from like actually being a good player. It doesn't mean you're a good coach, and I really have to experience it myself.
That is, I think I actually added the Shaquille O'Neal because I actually raised my hand. Most of the lecture hall, they were like, "Oh yeah, the professional one." But me coming from coaching family, knowing that my father has been a coach since he was 16, so for over 50, no, 50 years, 45 years. So he doesn't tell that I said he was too old. But he grew up watching my grandparents coach and play, but he's never played handball himself, but he learned, right? So I was thinking about like, what about, Shaquille O'Neal, but he's never been a great shooter or like he couldn't shoot free throws. So probably he couldn't teach me that well, right? If I was 150 kilos and 2 meters 15 tall, probably the best coach ever for the footwork. But I just want to highlight the point that you don't necessarily need to be the best player to be a good coach,
Yeah.
right? But it helps if you have the experience of competing on the high level, at least for a certain amount of time. So you can really understand what's going on in one's head because you've experienced it firsthand. And when you said you had a Women's Day, like Women's Round Day in Switzerland, can you maybe tell me what it meant to you or what it was about? Because I find it's a great initiative, something we probably should be doing much more.
Yeah. Actually, just last Sunday, so 2 days ago, we had another one. Yeah, so for me it means a lot because I really like to get more focus on women and like more recognition for women in Roundnet. And yeah, for me it always feels really nice to have like a group of women. It just feels like we're all in this like together and we really learn from each other. There's not a lot of like competitive energy around, which is really nice. And yeah, for me it's really nice. I really feel that they're motivated and they're really like willing to learn, and yeah, that's great.
So if we were to say what are the difference between coaching like mixed groups, so men, women, like when you have a clinic, and only women, what are the differences? So you said one of them would be it was not so competitive. Was it more about like being happy to be together and learn like with peers without some like, oh, I have to go and show everyone I'm the best? Or how was it? Because
Um
men are usually like that, like more likely, like scientifically speaking, to compete and okay. Not always, of course.
yeah, I think there's less competitive energy, but that's actually something I try to like
Change.
change.
Okay.
Like I in women's clinic I talk way more about like the mental part, or like the confident way of playing, or like how to be confident, and how to be confident, how to play like
Mhm.
with a very like positive attitude about yourself, because I think a lot of women are lack it a bit, and I
Mhm.
really like it hurts to see that people like make themselves smaller than they actually are. And so that's really something I like to focus on in those clinics. And I do that way less in mixed groups, or in groups of
Could
more
you,
men.
let's play a game. Let's say I have a very low ego and I'm not a very confident person.
Hmm.
Uh, and I would be attending your clinic. What would you say? And you can literally go word by word, like how to build up their character or the mindset. What would be your talk? You don't need to do like 1 hour now TED talk. You could definitely. I would love that, and I'll shut up. And I think people would enjoy it more, listeners. So it's not me talking, but what exactly do you tell them now about not making yourself small? Be there, embrace yourself. So maybe what did you say at the weekend?
Well, I think first of all, we need to understand why we maybe think the way we do. Like, why do we have insecurities? Where are they coming from? I like to talk a bit about our society that maybe raise us a bit, or especially women, to not believe in themselves a lot, or maybe make themselves a bit smaller than they should be. So like understand that it's not really coming like from inside of us, but more from like maybe the outside, and which makes us feel a certain way. I think once you understood that, you can really like start maybe to change how you think about yourself, and then build up maybe the confidence. And then I like to like give some little tricks that help, like dropping mistakes. Like, how do we think about doing mistakes? Yeah, stuff like this. And then really don't make yourself smaller than you should. Yeah.
Could you share one of the tricks about making mistakes, or what would you like if you were now coaching me? What would you tell me about like when we talk about a topic, little mistakes?
I think for me personally, my mindset is really like forward thinking. Like in a game, I really like try not to hang on mistakes that happened like in previous points. So I really like just try to drop it and think like, oh, okay, next point's gonna be better. I just did this because sometimes I snap after like a point, or after something bad happened, or I did a mistake, to like say like, okay, it's over now. Then it makes a sound, and for me it's like something that helps me to come back in a moment. And it means like a new episode is starting for me. So I like to do this sometimes in between points.
Oh,
Yeah.
I love that. I mean, to give you a little bit of scientific background, this is actually, as you probably know, called operational conditioning. It's
Mm.
actually first discovered by psychologist Skinner, I think, in the 60s. And that is, you also anchor emotion. So once you do this, your body is already anchored to the sound or to the movement. Okay, your physiology is already changed. Okay, it's over, move on.
Yeah.
Because, for example, when Tony Robbins used to work with Andre Agassi, they would talk about the body language or how you stand when you're feeling confident that you're smiling subconsciously or not. And I also, for example, so this would be called the trigger. And then you have your state that you're going to go to, which means, again, sharper mental focus. I actually have quite a few triggers myself, like over the years with different types of songs or different types of things or movements I would do. So I would condition myself, I would prime myself to feel this confidence or feel the energy. And once you understand these little psychological things that are going on in your body, and you can really use them to your advantage. So, for example, with the pre-game routines, I mean, Rafael Nadal, whether they have always doing the same thing, because that's how they get into the zone, so to say. So your is okay. I'll be watching an
I do that
examples.
more when a mistake happened or something. But
Okay.
I also do a lot like subconsciously. I think I work a lot with like body language. Like sometimes you can almost sounds a bit weird, but you can almost like fake a bit your confidence,
Okay.
like really. And I think it's something that helps a lot, because it really has an impact on your opponent. When you're like standing there and you're like showing, okay, I know what I'm doing. I'm having like control over everything, which sometimes is really not what you're feeling at the moment, because you might feel like intimidated or stuff. So I think that's also a big part that can be influenced a lot, and that can help to play better. But yeah, this I really do more when I'm like
Okay.
hanging on mistakes. Yeah.
So this is okay. This is restart. Okay, restart.
Yeah.
We're back on track.
Yeah.
It's very interesting to see. I'm not so surprised because you've had amazing success in Roundnet so far, and probably are just getting started. That you're very aware of these things, because there's also a TED talk about it, that you have when you spread your arms or do the gorilla, make yourself big, that actually your body after a certain period of time, I think it was about 2 minutes when they did this scientific experiment, starts to produce more testosterone, better hormones.
Mhm.
And what I think there's even a picture somewhere I would try to teach my players, like if they do double fault, they will always look down. It's like, oh, I missed again. And I will like up, look up. I don't care. And I think there's a picture when I literally would come, I think to Lucas Tapkin get his chins like up, like look up, like be big. Nelson smiles when he's serve receiving. And this also like would always annoy me when I played against him because I want to hit my best serves and this guy's just smiling there. Like, okay, and show me like, come on, bring it on, bring it on. I was like, oh, then then you go crazy. So you don't really seem very confident when your shoulders are dropped, looking at the ground.
Yeah.
And you probably notice that more in women that, as you said, they're making themselves small because they're maybe afraid to show the true power they have or they possess, because probably the society will stand to know, just be obedient, be like this, whatever. Okay, so this is one of the things. What else would you talk about at the clinic, women's clinic?
Muss kurz überlegen.
Yeah. I'll translate. She wants to think a little bit, which is amazing because I love when people think. It's not common nowadays.
That's true.
Yeah, unfortunately. But with all the time, I have my coffee here, which is absolutely lovely.
Yeah, I've had my coffee.
Anyway, then cheers. Other cheers.
I also like to talk about how to communicate with your team partner. I think it's a big part that can be improved a lot of times, and that can also help you like play really well if you really have the feeling that you're working together, that you're like one unit. Yeah, it's also a big topic of mine that I want to improve. To like really work together. I really focus on it with Ines right now to like have the same mindset and like have the same understanding of the game. And I think it's really important, especially if you play with someone for like a longer period or like whole season, to like know how and what the other person is thinking, and also how you have to like behave when you see the other person is down or like feeling small. So what does the other person need to like light up the fire again? Yeah, stuff like this.
But it is so difficult, isn't it? Especially if you don't have a fixed partner that most people also listening probably don't have. And it's very challenging to figure it out right at the start. Okay, let's just go out there and play. Of course, if you're maybe on lower level, that's all you care about. But then you can, if you don't talk, you can get frustrated a little bit. You can get frustrated with yourself or with your partner. And usually, and this is what I also want to ask you, is when you are the better player from the two, like they know it, like it doesn't mean now with Ines, it can be anyone. When you're just playing pickup, it is okay, you want to coach the other person, but at some point you also could use some help from the outside, because obviously you are very confident. Like when I was teaching or coaching people since 2019, and I would spend like hours just improving myself and then improving the others, but sometimes I would feel down, and if my partner came and said something funny that we talked about beforehand, like get my mind off it, or okay, you just double fold it 3 times in a row, I doubt you can make it 5 times in a row if you deal buy you a beer, whatever, as an example, then I would be like, right, and then I'll just hit great serves after that. So it really, like when you break the deep pattern, and we could really go on a deep dive here. So when you say about partners, but before we do, Laura, a lot of people have asked me not only about you but about others, like how can they afford to go so many tournaments and they travel so much? I mean, isn't it expensive? So how do you do it? Because I feel that you play almost every weekend all year long, which is crazy.
Yes, it is crazy, and it is tough. And a lot of times I find myself in situations where I need to like calculate everything and see if it's possible. Most of the times I am able to do it, but yeah, of course, prize money always helps a lot for the tournament, but it also means that you need to win the tournament, so you can't really count on that. But yeah, I work sometimes a bit, and yeah, also just save a lot of money and try to look for the cheapest options to travel and yeah, get accommodation and stuff.
And usually the cheapest options are also very funny options.
Yes.
You find yourself in a room with 7 other people, no floor space, air mattresses everywhere. And then, I mean, that's how people really get to know each other a little bit better. And
Yeah.
I observed this, I think, in 2021 the most, when I would be living in Munich, right? And I would see my friends from Graz every other weekend. I would see them much more often than my friends in Munich, which was
Mm.
absolutely crazy. Because every time I have free time, I would go and travel to tournaments, and there they would be. And we
Yeah.
would meet in Prague, we would meet in Riga, we would meet in Graz or Vienna. And it was so cool. So I'm not surprised at all that round community, especially on the highs level, the people who travel the most also are becoming great friends, because we share meals together, we share the experiences, and we're doing a lot of things together, right? Because usually you have this message, oh, they are all just within their own groups and they don't want the outsiders. But I say, yeah, if you spend 2 days every week with someone, then you start to like them and you become friends. Compared to if you just met someone new, you talk for 10 minutes, and it's not like we are exclusive, but just come and talk to us. And unless it's shortly before final, I mean, people just know when to ask, when to ask for autograph or like whatever. Okay, I haven't given Roundnet autographs, I think. It was in the other sports. Have you ever given an autograph?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Couple
Tell,
times.
tell us,
Yeah.
tell me more.
It's always a bit special for me. Let's say it this way. Yeah. But
No.
Worlds 2 years ago was crazy, especially some people from foreign countries that you never see. Um, there were people that came up to me, and yeah, sometimes it happens.
How does it make you feel when someone from across the world come to you and say like, oh, I'm a fan, or like, you're cool? Can you say like what's going on in your head in that moment?
Well, I think I have very mixed feelings in that moment. I think, of course, it feels nice, but it's more like the recognition that feels nice, because you're like, of course, I spend a lot of time and effort and energy in like doing all of this, and it's always nice to get like recognized for it. But at the same time, I really like to be as everybody else, and sometimes it makes me feel a bit weird if people like look up to me and say like, oh wow, you're the best and please and stuff. So I mean, it's a nice feeling, but sometimes it's really like, oh please, let's just like be friends and meet each other's like meet each other at the same, yeah,
Okay, so
level.
I mean, this answers my question. If you are one of the people who looks at the mirror and say, I'm the best, I'm the best. Probably not. Probably that's the other guy.
Yeah, I mean now I know that I mean now that I can, I think, say that I'm the best let's say women's player, but it took me some time to like really like be able to like say it. Like for a long time I knew it was probably the case, but still it didn't feel right to like say it, and it still feels weird. um but yeah, it's more, yeah, right.
People do perceive it as arrogant, like usually when you say, oh, I'm the best, or I'm really good at what I do. But
Mm.
there's this famous quote by Muhammad Ali, who says it's not bragging if you can back it up, right? If you won everything, you won the European Championship or the ETS big tournaments, and with a lot of different partners, everything, then apparently you are doing something right and you are the best. But this is where people struggle a little bit, especially if they don't know. Is what I think, like the difference between athlete and the ego, and like the player self and the private self.
Mhm.
Because as I said, I have the privilege to know you, spend some time together, like in Mallorca, like between tournaments, and that you are super down to earth person, like you, or for example Levi Vandale. If I was so good as you or Levi, I don't know how I would behave. I think 5 years ago it would have been absolutely terrible. I would love to say that I matured a little bit, so I would be, oh, it's fine, no big deal. You're not laughing so hard. People don't see it because I'm talking, but she's just like chuckling, like, yep, yep, that's the case. So I admire this, right? I think we had this conversation about, I believe, Clark Marshall, who said, or I was in the group and said, Clark is the best. He just became world champion. want it all, but he's such a down to earth guy,
Hmm.
you know, and you would never think that. I have no idea what just happened. What?
Wow.
This is kind of like magician. Oh my god. Okay, this
I
was
didn't
first.
do anything.
Yeah, me neither. Wow. Okay, I'm a flabbergasted a little
That's
bit.
something else. Yeah,
Okay.
that was me. But yeah.
Okay. That's all. Man, I was having a moment here, Laura. Come on, seriously. What I want to say, like Clary is such a down to earth guy, or like Benny, who was also two-time European champion. And then you have people who tend to be more arrogant or come across more arrogant
Mhm.
because they struggle with, okay, I need to project confidence as well, maybe to intimidate or whatever. But a lot of people who are overconfident, they didn't put in the work. And you can be cocky if you can back it up. But if you get out of round of 16 every tournament, then probably should just be quiet and grind and improve. So, how was it then with Clark Marshall? Now I mentioned the friendly giant because he is the best player in the world, more as one of the best team,
Mhm.
teamed up with you last year as the not non-arguably anymore. I would say it in the commentators booth a lot, the best women's player in the world, and you made a team and you became a team. But how was it play with Clark?
It was very fun. I really enjoyed it a lot. Um, I think, yeah, as you said, like underperformed. I don't think we really underperformed that much. I think we could have played better, but the teams that we played against and lost against were like really, really good that day. Especially like Megan Levy in Toulouse, they were like crazy good. And the first tournament that we played was in Salt Lake City,
Mhm.
and we really played very well and beat everybody until we played Olivia and Will in, I think, round of 16 already, because they somehow didn't have a very good seed. So we had to play them first round, which was very tough. It was also the first tournament when Clark came back from his Asian tour.
Mhm.
So I think for him, it was also like crazy experience to like come back and play very competitive all of a sudden again. But we didn't like play bad that game, but yeah, we lost. Um, yeah, so actually we didn't really play a lot of tournaments because then I also stopped traveling to the US. Um, yeah, but it was fun, and I think I also learned a lot. I think we might be a bit, in a way, like too similar to each other the way we
Okay.
play, maybe. I don't think we complemented each other like very well, which was maybe a bit like our weakness, let's say.
Okay.
Yeah.
What do you mean by that? Like maybe specifically? Because I had obviously I would have my analysis and everything, but like what do you think what do you mean by not complementing each other so well? And then my second question would be what did you learn the most or that stays with you from Clark Marshall?
Um, well, I think his strength is probably defense. But like really like to play defense like in a team with someone that's like taking the other 50%. And I think I didn't really take that 50%. I think I gave him a lot of space in defense and sometimes even let him really on his own and like would just expect to get him to get the touch and then I just said so I don't think we really like matched perfectly in defense, and so he
Mhm.
couldn't like play all his strength because he was a bit left alone. Um, but I think in all the other areas we were like individually so good that it clicked and that we could like play more or less clean. Um, yeah.
Okay, so on defense, and what did you learn the most? I remember I played with Clark a couple of pickup games back in Colorado or when he was in Munich, and
Mm.
I was like, oh, this is so cool. And the sets were coming in. Doesn't
Yeah.
matter where he was, they would almost always come like perfectly. And I was definitely expecting that, even though I kind of was, but I was not prepared. But it's just like one thing. So every time you play with a better player, you get to learn and watch and
Mm.
observe. What was it for you with Clark?
I think for me it was probably also setting, but also like how he did it. Like he did it in a very calm and controlled way. It was never like fast or panicked. It was always like a lot of control, which I really like, and I think I do a bit more since I like watch him more and played with him more. Yeah, and I also really enjoy like recovery setting. I think it's my favorite part of the game right now. Like I've always like different phases, so for now it's recovery setting, and also something that he does very, very well. Probably like one of the best at it. So yeah.
Absolutely. And like just to clear up, I would not say, even if you said like underperformed as team, this
Mm.
was for people listening. I did not say that. I wrote it down in preparation for the interview. I was like, sheesh, okay.
Yeah.
It was mostly for me was how crazy it has to be. You finish second at the major tournament in Toulouse in France, and people say you underperformed. Like they expect you to win every single time. So every time you finish second, you underperform, which is completely crazy. So
Yeah.
people are having very unrealistic expectations then because they got used to so much to winning. So every time when you play a tournament, especially in women's division, and you don't win, everyone's like, oh my God, like what happened? Right? How do you cope with that? Because that's a lot of pressure. Do you feel that pressure or you just don't think about it at
Um,
all?
yeah, no, I can really feel it. I feel it when I lose, then like people really like want to know like, oh, what was wrong? What
Mhm.
was in your mind? Why didn't you win? And then I really have to explain way more than when I win. It's just like, oh, congrats.
Mhm.
So I don't really like that I have to explain so much when I lose. But yeah, I think it's really good to like experience it and feel it, and also like have to explain why it happened and stuff. It really helps me to reflect as well. But yeah, there's a lot of pressure and a lot of expectations, but I think I can always like really um like collect it in my head and then like choose for myself, okay, how much pressure do I let in and how much pressure do I
Mhm.
do I give myself. And I think most of the times it actually helps me to play better if I feel the pressure. If it's like positive pressure.
Mhm.
Um yeah, but for myself I always like when I go into a tournament, I don't like to think, oh, I'm gonna win this tournament, or
Mhm.
like I want more to like think I know it's possible and maybe likely that I win the tournament, but I know that it's like hard, and
Mhm.
like I know I have the skill to win the tournament, but it's not only the skill. I think the more important and bigger part is like the mental strength and the mental ability to really have access to your skill, because sometimes you can feel down and really don't play as well,
Mhm.
especially for like serving. Like if you don't hit your serve, it's mostly because you're in your head. So it's more the question like, are you able, or am I able to be in that zone, or be in that yeah stadium where
Positive mindset,
yeah,
yes. Mhm.
mindset where I have access to really deliver that skill. So that's more like for me the challenge, because I know with the skill, like everybody has very good skill, and in a tournament like there's a lot of people that have the skill to
Mhm.
win the tournament, but it's the question like how long can you last, or like do you at some point like break in, or yeah, don't have the energy anymore, or like the mental energy, whatever um happens. So yeah, that's more the challenge.
There are so many ways we could go from there, and I'm struggling to keep my thoughts.
Mm.
First, I would say when you mentioned, maybe let's go chronologically, that you have to explain yourself to the loss. I mean, recently there was a press conference in the NBA when Los Angeles Lakers lost after
Mm.
getting a bucket couple of seconds before the end, and
Mhm.
Anthony Davis, the superstar, they was asking, "Yeah, what happened?" I was like,
Murray made a shot.
made a shot. Next time, if there is a next time when you lose, I just go, they played better. Go. You know,
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's true.
I
Yeah.
believe we have sometimes this tendency to explain a lot what we do or why we do it. But I've been practicing this a lot. Maybe this was sometimes people, or I can come across as arrogant or not so friendly because I just say no and I don't explain. I don't know. I don't owe anyone an explanation. If it's very close friend or if it's our teammate, then we'll sit down, we'll debrief. I call it. We'll debrief, and okay, what went wrong? How can we improve? But not debriefing. Oh, you sucked. You missed all your serves. But how can we? What can we do in order for this not to happen again, but lower the chances of this happening again? Because it's gonna happen. We're gonna miss shots, whatever. And for example, something I did when we talk about like partner dynamic is, especially in mixed, when I was playing with less experienced players, say it's okay. We are counting with making 2 errors as a team or 3, and it doesn't matter. So I don't hit a set. You missed the set completely. So what? That's 1 and 2. So, and that gave such a safe space to my partner because I just lifted off the pressure of her shoulders, and it would eventually end up being maybe 1 mistake. See, because as you said, you're not so much in the head, right? And this brings us to the next point, which is you need to be able to deliver in the right moment. And I think I've called you, or with Tubs around it, like Miss Clutch, because you do perform a lot in the very right moments when you're down a point or when you need to close out the game. You don't have a super crazy like ace streak or make defensive touch and then you convert or something magical happens. So do you tell yourself like now it's crunch time or something like that? I can also then share what I tell myself like in such moments. But what is going in your head? You're maybe, let's say, 18, 19, you're down, or 17, 19, so the opposing team is 2 breaks in advance and you're gonna get the ball. What is going in your head? It's like, oh, I really have to do this because otherwise we're out. Or like, whatever.
No, I think a lot of it is very natural in me. I think I've always had a very competitive mindset, like in a more or less good way. So a lot of it is that I cannot really explain and that I also don't really try to understand because I think it works. And I'm a
Okay.
bit scared that once I like get into it, that I like might lose it or something. But
Oh,
yeah, I realized that a lot of time it's like when it's like very important or like very clutch, that my mind thinks like, oh, I'm gonna do this, or like I'm gonna hit this serve, or I'm gonna get this touch. And like there's no energy wasted in like, oh, maybe not, or maybe I'm gonna fail. Because I think especially when you're serving and you think like, oh, please, let's not double fault. I think you've already lost in your head. So I really try to be 100%
present.
yeah, yeah. That I'm gonna hit it, and I think it really helps to have this kind of like mindset. And also, I think it's the moments where you're the most tense and the most focused, and like your focus is 100% on what you're doing. So this I think also really helps to, yeah, just like statistically deliver something if you're like 100% focused. I think that's also a reason, and also that like sometimes I remember that it worked so many times that I really think, oh, this is gonna happen again, and then it actually happens. So there's also a lot on like past success situations where I can like rely on or like remember, and then take some energy out of this. Yeah.
I think it's fascinating because what you're describing is exactly what the books are also writing, or like the literature, but you're living it, right? So there are some people, like I was doing the mix, like I would live it, but also I would study it, and I don't know like from which what came. Like there's a fluid combination of that. But exactly, if you have the past successes, you can actually build on that. I've done this before many times, even worse. So
Mm,
like
mm,
we're gonna get back to this, and you look at your partner, she or he's like, yeah, you got this. And I said, okay, maybe there is the sign, the camera is, okay.
Maybe you do this and it starts.
Yeah. Wait. Okay. Oh, come on. Okay, my magic trick has disappeared.
It'll come again.
Maybe I mean, it happened in the past. I had success in the past. We'll see if this
Right.
works in the future. So yeah, and then you just need to build up those successes. Would you, at the beginning of your Roundnet career, or also in your other sport, which I would also like to inquire a little bit more about, when did you start noticing like these successes? Was it maybe in pickups that you were down and then you would come back, just in training, and then would happen more in the tournament? Or was it more of a natural type of things that, yeah, you were just getting better, you were just hitting better, making better plays?
I think it's something that was there red at the beginning of my Roundnet career. Sometimes in like competitive pickup situations, but especially in tournaments, because tournaments just feel very different than pickups. For me, it's like a very different mode. But yeah, actually from the first tournament on, I felt that kind of energy or competitive mindset thing. So it was just there. I think, yeah, I had it before, obviously for the other sports that I played.
So when was actually your first Roundnet tournament? And when was the first one when you noticed, okay, I'm actually, or we are as a team, quite good? Because I know first time when I saw you, and I know what I thought, but what was it for you?
Well, I started playing during the lockdown from the COVID pandemic. So that was in winter, I think 2020. And so I used to play a lot, let's say from December to April and May. And then I started, or I played my first tournament in summer 2020.
2021.
2021. Yeah. It was a Swiss tournament, and it was like the first tournament that I played, and we won it, and we won it quite good. So that was actually the moment where I was like, oh, okay, I just played against the best women in Switzerland and we won the tournament. So maybe we are really good at this, and maybe we should play like more tournaments, or like maybe, yeah, it was just a very fun experience because we played so long without playing tournaments, and we kind of found everything out ourselves. And then we were at the tournament, we were like, oh, these are actually proper shots, and we didn't invent them ourselves. Yeah, so like we learned a lot. And when I say we, I mean me and Cedric, who's my used to be my mixed partner, and also my ex-girlfriend. We were like a team of three who would always practice together and go to tournaments. So yeah, and from there on it just kept going, and we played a lot of tournaments. Then we played the trophy, which was like the first international tournament in Cologne in September 2021, which was also the first tournament with no hit zone and like serving line quarterback. And it was also like a very crazy experience because it was the first time that like all the best European women came to like one spot, and we saw each other, we played each other, and we won that tournament as well. So that was another like really big moment and gave a lot of motivation. Yeah.
I remember that, but before I talk about Trophy 21, you have such a different experience than most people playing Roundnet. Because I also, throughout the podcast, we thought we were good. We go to a tournament, then we just get smashed. Like they would just destroy us.
Yeah.
And they're like, no, we came and actually we won. So okay, no, we're probably good at this, which is really like what the state of the game was, I think, like 2018, 17, when you could be just started playing in the park and you were athletic, so it worked. But already in 2021, it's very interesting because it got way too more technical. Then we had how to round it, so we knew some basics. And I remember at Trophy 21, I was playing with Marcus, and I just returned from the US, from my US Odyssey, getting Premier and playing the pro tournaments in the US with the no hit zone. And then there was this chat after pool play. There are these two Swiss girls who've never played with the no hit zone, and they're like winning it all. They're like, what? Like, what's going on? We had Stadels, obviously, Leah Franzi, friends of mine, were like the heavy favorites. They just won the German nationals and everything. And then there are these two Swiss women. It was also first time tiramisu played together. Fun fact.
Mm.
Dan and Megan, and they got third. That's what
Mhm.
Megan said also on the podcast. And you just went and you won, and everyone's like, whoa. And you were serving so hard. I remember that. We're like, guys don't serve this hard. Like, what's going on? And it was like, we couldn't comprehend what was going on. And then it just went from there. I mean, you had quite a few battles with the Stadlers. I remember in Karlsruhe, for
Mhm.
example, you won some, you also lost some. And when was it when it really took off for you, like Roundnet wise? Not feeling like, okay, I'm the best in the world now, but when you noticed like, okay, I may be the best. You wouldn't say it out loud, as you said earlier today, but like, I'm really good at this. Was there a special moment, maybe a tournament, or did it come naturally?
No, it was more like a process. It was like one moment that I thought like, oh, I am whatever. No, it was more like a process. And also, yeah, I think like with my ex mixed partner Cedric, I really we talked so much about Roundnet in a like sometimes a very realistic way. We would like talk through everything, all the skills, and
Mhm.
also put ourselves in there. So like yeah, I think at some point I understood that I might be really good like in that categories, whatever.
Mhm.
But as I said, like skill is something, but you still need to like be able to deliver it. Yeah. And we also played a lot of open tournaments,
Mhm.
also a lot in Switzerland. And when we yeah, win against open teams, playing against men, it was also always a moment where I'm like, oh wow, we just beat two men. Maybe I'm also better than some men, playing better than some men. Um,
Okay, that's
that was always like a really big moment for me because I tend to make myself also a bit smaller than I should. Yeah, so it was always like a crazy moment to like win open tournaments. It's yeah, for me it's always it shows that I yeah should have a bit more self-confidence in my like belief in myself.
Yeah, and abilities, and this is what is so wonderful in Run, but why I really want to have you on is because you proved over and over again by winning open tournaments or placing very well that, or winning with a lot of multiple partners in the mixed division, that women can beat men and can beat also good men in this sport, because the state of the game is that the technique is very, very important, obviously, to a certain level. I mean, then the physicality comes into play for sure. But when I was coaching women in Munich, we started like women's only training of complete beginners back in 2020, I want to say. I think now the group is not very active, but there are over 100 women in Munich or in that group.
Wow.
It's been like that for the past, I think, 2 years. And I told them, stick with me, stick with the program for 6 weeks, once a week, and you'll be able to compete with men in the park. You will not be the worst at the net, because that's how they felt. Women always felt, not all of them, that I am I'm the party pooper in a way, because I'm the worst. And said that doesn't have to be the case. And see, it's not going to be the case if you do what I say, or like when we train and you put in the work and you actually got to beat guys a lot. And we got people like girls coming back and back, and they were improving. Some of them are playing to this very day, or even started coaching a little bit. So it was so nice to see, because as I said, with the technique or good setting technique, you can go so far, right? So, and you going and putting yourself out there in the open division is remarkable for sure. And how was it? Because you also played, I think, with Megan Labor, one of the best women in the world as well, an open tournament last year, but
Mhm.
you were two women playing the men's division. How much does it differ, also maybe from the mental perspective? Because I can tell you how it is for guys if they play against mixed teams in open, because it's very difficult from mindset type of point of view. How was it just playing with Megan? So like 2 women in the men's division. Like, what's the difference if you play with Cedric against men and then with Megan?
I think that the biggest difference was that I could really tell that the guys would want to win. And usually, yeah, it kind of like lights me up, and I'm like, okay, let's like, now I want to win. But there it kind of annoyed me a little bit, because I could notice that it was a bit because we were 2 women. So I think I didn't really like that as much, and also we just didn't play very well that day, I think. Or I really didn't play that well that day. Because also I wasn't like really mentally strong that day. But yeah, it feels very different when I play with a guy, or like mixed team in open. Yeah.
Which is also now a great segue into you writing yet another history or record in the history books, when earlier this year in Barcelona, you were the very first woman ever to play in the highest division of the European Tour Series in Roundnet, in the open division, because you qualified 2 weeks earlier on a sanctioned event in Aarhus in Denmark. And you play with Paul Simmer, European champion, arguably the best European player, who's also come back, similar to Clark. I think last year, Paul has been traveling the world a little bit.
Right.
I think
there's a pattern.
there's a pattern.
Yeah.
Okay, guys, you want to play with Laura, go on a trip around the world for 6 months, and then she may play around a tournament with you. There's a pattern there. How was it in the open division in Barcelona, very competitive field, and playing with Paul? Because this is a different ballgame. It's not just, I'm not saying just to belittle a tournament, let's say in Switzerland or Austria or in Germany, but it is a different event. It's the Champions League, so to say, of Roundnet, where the best men and female players go and compete in separate divisions, and now you're there, number one, the very first one. How is it like? Can you maybe walk us through the day? Because I believe a lot of people are very curious about that. And let's not focus on the result or anything. Just like, I want to know the feelings. What was going there? What's going on?
Yeah. Well, for me, it was like I always knew like this was gonna happen, so I made it really like big in my head, and like not in a negative way, but in a way that I was really like looking forward to play on that day and have this chance to play ETS, like best division, with like, it was really stacked, like with like the best teams, and that I'm gonna be part of that, and also that I have the chance to actually play with Paul, who's like probably the best, or for me the best in Europe at the moment. So I was like, okay, this is like a really great chance. And I knew that he didn't play a lot of tournaments before, or like for a couple of months, and that he was traveling, but still he's Paul, and still he played crazy good. There was maybe a little rustiness in his serve, but it was like 2 games, and then on Sunday it was like back to 100%. So that was also really fascinating, and and yeah, it felt crazy. I think there was a lot of I think a lot of energy in me that was like really ready to give it all, and like also physically I was very ready to play that day. And also we started off really good. And then it just didn't continue like that, and I think there were like 2-3 games where we underperformed a little bit. Now I think we can say underperformed, because I think that was the case. It was a bit frustrating, because I knew that we could get a lot further than this. And I was disappointed that day that we couldn't deliver it. Also because it was like a really good opportunity that I might not get again to play with him. But yeah.
I mean, to be fair, you've written the history, and just like you being there participating is amazing. Like, first of all, and second of all, like to give people some context, you did exit tournament around 32, but against very good team, and like specifically for your as a matchup was the worst, probably one of the worst matchups you could have gotten, because you played against Matias Bemejo Pacetti, who's your good friend who lives in Basel, who knows you very well. So
Right.
he serves you, and he's also, some people say, Paul's kryptonite. Already, like, he loves playing against Paul, one of the few people apparently here. And he played with Felix Milton, who's an upcoming super athletic Swede, super talented, very strong on service. And you lost in extras of game 3. So again, like, he made the shot. It was like you could have a
Yeah.
great. So it's not really about, like, people may say, oh, round 32. I mean, that's a failure. I said it, but like, no, if you really look at it, it's much more than that. And if people say, okay, let them say it, because they probably don't understand the game or how these things work. But so there is much more to performance, or it's not only about the result. Something I had to learn the hard way, I must say, because I would also just focus, okay, I'm going to go and win the tournament, and then anything else is a failure. But it's not really a sustainable mindset, because if I was going to tournaments, I'm like, I'm here to improve this or that, and I'm here to have fun, and maybe not do the mistakes I did in the past tournament, whatever, after I analyzed it or made my teammate and stuff like that. But you bounced back. I mean, dominated fashion Sunday, won the mixed. Another super entertaining final against your partner Ines and Per, who also came back from the injury, and that was it. So, do you have any more aspirations playing in the open division more, also on the highest level?
Yeah, I do. Actually, I'm gonna play with Nelson in Helsinki. So that's now a fact. Yeah. So I'm really looking forward to that as well.
It's going to be a great defensive clinic, I guess.
Right.
Anyway, I think it's fair to say that you've inspired now even more women. Just try to think a little bit bigger. Your goal may not be to play the highest level in the open division, but maybe just advance from intermediate to contender, or to advance, right? And really don't feel bad if you're good at something, because I think that's just said. Like, there's this famous quote from Coach Carter, one of my favorite movies, when he says that people are not afraid of, like, they're afraid of shrinking, so the other people wouldn't feel insecure about them, right? I'm getting goosebumps just by thinking about it. It's a very emotional movie. I love it. But that's it. But tell me, Laura, because I have prepared here some statistics. I like numbers, and there are some just for you. So, incredible stats from last year in 2023. You played 42 tournaments, 15 in women's division, 6 in open, and mixed in 21. And now, ladies and gentlemen, please sit down if you are not. If you are driving, you're already sitting, but just pay attention. You won, out of 42 tournaments, you won 29. You finished second 7 times, third once, and fourth 4 times. So there's only one time, if my or Colton's math, Colton did the stats, are correct, you were not in top 4. And yet, if someone is following you on Instagram, they seen you've been practicing in the off season, you've been grinding, you were getting your body in shape. But what keeps you going? I mean, after dominating, and you went to the US, you wrote history in the US, you're the first team as K2 with Katie Pearson, who beat the Twins in Salt Lake City. And then you come to the off season and you just keep practicing. Like, what's going on in your head? It's just crazy. Why?
No, I think the biggest reason is that it's just super fun for me. Like, I really enjoy drilling itself. Like, it's not that I feel like I'm doing it to play a tournament. It's more like the sessions within feel like really fun. But then also I just know and feel that I have a lot more potential, or like I can get a lot more better than I'm now. Because I see people Like play, I really like I watch a lot and I see like, okay, this is still possible and I'm not there yet. So I know that yeah, my ceiling is not reached yet. So it's more like for myself that I know that there's still like a lot of room to improve. And I think I improve pretty fast when I'm like working on something. So that's also fun, like if you work on something and you get better. Um, yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, that's how people stick with skills or hobbies. Because if you're not improving, it starts to be a little bit less fun than at the beginning. Could you maybe walk us through your training regime, maybe during the season or in the preseason, and start like on the big, okay, I do Roundnet, then I do weightlifting this couple of times a week, because I would also like to give people something they can use straight away from this podcast, like the training routine, because you can adapt the routine rather easily. So how does your training regime look like in off
Yeah, so
season? Sure.
yeah, exactly. It looks a bit different in the off season than it is like now in season. Yeah, so I think my off season started right after the championship in the US, which was in October. So
Mhm.
after that, I went into like my off season program, which was a lot of gym work. I went to the gym like 2 to 3 times a week, and did some additional mobility exercises and yoga to like balance it all out. And then I would always like practice around that, like drilling, let's say like 3 to 4 times a week. Um, I actually started to practice like serves isolated in
Okay.
this off season for the first time. Um, yeah, so a bit of that, a lot of one-on-one drilling, like just like salt and pepper with like different focuses. Um, but I really focused on feeling in shape and
Mhm.
that my body is really prepared to play a lot of tournaments and to prevent my body from injuries. And yeah, I can say that there's like a big difference to last year, because last year I also did some kind of off-season program, but not as consistent and as strict. And also this time I don't drink alcohol anymore, so that also helps a lot with like recovery and making progress. Um, but yeah, I can really feel that after tournaments, or like also like during the tournament, I don't get tired as fast. I just have the energy to play like 2 full days, which is very important if you want to play well. That you're in like a physical, like a good condition. It really helps me to be also mentally strong if I feel physically well. So there's this, and also like after the tournament, I'm not as wasted and as dead as as I experienced it before. So it really helps a lot.
Are you
Um,
listening, people? You are listening to a real sportswoman. This is so exciting for me. It's, I think, so important for people to hear that Roundnet can be a sport. And if we really want to play on the highest level, we have to start thinking about it from the sports perspective. Because in every sport, you have the preseason where you do a lot of conditioning. You don't, if you're a handball or basketball player, you don't touch the ball so much. You go and you run again, like on the hills or whatever. You swim a lot, and then you go to your sport specific regime or like schedule, right? So doing a lot of weight training and stuff, I think this is, I know this is definitely a way to go, but till recently you really didn't need to do it in the sport because it's still so young, and it was enough if you had a good technique and everything. But I just love to see that you as the best player actually realizing is, okay, if I really want to even improve even more, I need to have my body in shape. I cannot drink alcohol. It's not gonna be 2 3 beers after tournament day like some people still like to do, which I completely understand. But it's the difference if how you feel the next day.
right.
And this is so important. I love that because that again gives more space for improvement. In a way we can introduce strength trainers or something, like really make it a sport so more people can be engaged in this entire ecosystem. So really, really cool sport regime. even though you were like, okay, I'm the best, but I'm not here to like rest on the laurels, as they say. Day one, okay, let's go. You sound a little bit like Kobe Bryant. First day he lost, and then second day he was in the gym.
Yeah,
It's crazy.
that's like, yeah, I kind of work like this too. But also for my training, I do it, of course, for Roundnet and for the tournaments, but also it's just really fun. It obviously has a lot of like good benefits to do like weightlifting and sessions like this. So it really just gives me structure as well, and it's also very good for my mental health, I think. And yeah, just to feel like well in like in your body and really feel like I really like, for me it's more about like feeling my body is like functional, that it's able to do stuff, and it's that it like that I feel energetic, and I really feel way more energetic when I do training than when I don't. Then I'm just tired.
What sports did you play before Roundnet? Because I suppose I mean, we know you have sports background, but did you do weightlifting with your other sports as well? And what level did you play in those sports?
So before Roundnet, I played ultimate frisbee for, let's say, 7 years almost. And on what level? Well, I think, yeah, on the highest level that was possible. So I was in the national team of Switzerland, and also played in like some really good teams in Germany, and attended like world championships with them. So we are more or less the highest level. And yeah, we also practiced like had a like off season and an in season. So I think from there I already know like kind of how to structure everything and to do more weightlifting in the off season, which I also did in for ultimate frisbee. Yeah, so
Like
I've done it before.
compared to Roundnet, like you run way more while playing ultimate frisbee,
Yes.
right? It's mostly running. It's great technique, but it's really the cuts, the runs. And I remember when we played it in my uni hockey, I used to play floorball on a very high level. I love Swiss people for it because I can actually tell them I played uni hockey. They're like, yeah, of course. Because other countries, they are not very aware of the sport. That it was so exhausting. Would be running all day. Like, whoa, I respect that, because in floorball, just play 40 seconds, 50 seconds, then you go, you rotate, you go to the bench, and then again. So very different than from Roundnet, right? When
Yeah, well, you
run.
run a lot more, and also, of course, training is more cardio, more running, more intervals, and like tempo runs and stuff. And also the weekends are just so exhausting because you play like it's same with Roundnet. You have pool play and you have brackets, and so you have like 9 games a weekend, or like yeah, let's say 7 to 9 games a weekend for like 90 minutes, and so you have 3 to 4 games a day, which is crazy. So yeah.
Do you think it's sustainable also in Roundnet that like you have a full day on Saturday, full day on Sunday when you play in two divisions like men or women and mixed? Or because you said you feel much better, you've prepared your body for this, you've been working towards, but how do you feel like personally? Is it too much? And I, even if you say yes, it doesn't mean that you're whining or complaining, so obviously you're not. But if you look at it like from objective perspective, right, like if we just step out take steps out of our bubble, okay, like is this really the best format we have? But how does it influence your body? What do you think?
I think it really depends on in what shape you are and what practice you do, and if you train for it. I would say in average it's too much. Because you see like people are really like not sometimes really not ready to play Sunday morning after they played all Saturday. So I think in average we can say it's probably too much, but I like to say it's more like, okay, probably people should practice more to be able to play 2 full days if they want to, because it's just way more sustainable if you really practice smart for it. But yeah, I also understand that people don't like to give everything just for being able to play in the weekend, because you need to have a lot of time, or like take a lot of time to put in that work and practice.
And it's not only that you play inter Saturday, Sunday. It's also, in order to get your body so healthy, you need to invest a lot of time in not round specific training. And at some point, because this is another topic that I would like to discuss a little bit, the prize money, like there is no financial reward in it, or almost zero. I mean, that has improved, which is great, but like money is not the driving force of most people in running. I think like the huge majority. But then you have something that you're investing, maybe even say, no, during my time in 2022, I would spend 10 hours a week just to practice Roundnet, or like think about it and prepare training sessions and actually doing them while working full time as a high school teacher. And then like would go and spend all the other time just playing, and then again back to work. And at the end of the day, I was like, okay, this is crazy. I've been doing amateur sport as a professional and I love it, but is it worth it? And how do you feel about it? Like, do you think we need to increase the prize money a little bit more, even though you're the one who's taking all of it with your teams? Like, can you live off that?
Needed.
Yeah, but of course. So maybe we go back to the question, like, how can you afford it? You get the prize money. So, we have the pro division, but we are not very professional. We talked about this with Buddy on the podcast earlier. How do you feel about it? And my question is, does it cover your expenses, the prize money?
No, it does not. No, that's way too less to cover expenses, I think. Yeah, no, for sure. I think it would be really good for the sport to have higher prize money. I think people would take it maybe more serious and practice more serious if they would be like, oh, I can maybe like have some kind of a nice side income from it. But we're not there yet. And I think, maybe I think it just needs to get a bit more popular, like maybe broadcasted a bit more, where we also need money to broadcast it more. So it's tough. And maybe some like more sponsorship deals would also be nice to see, like, oh, you can actually like get help and not just do it for fun. But yeah, we haven't figured out how to do that yet, I think.
I like what you said. People would start taking more seriously, and also on the inside, but also on the outside, it should be really cool. But I believe we are on the right path, more or less. I mean, it's still very new sport. It gets millions of views across the social media, right? But it's not monetized properly. Only very few companies profit from that. But usually, if we talk about companies, I mean, Spikeball is obviously the biggest one in the mix. Premier Spike, upcoming also from Utah, is that they invest so much in the sport. So it's actually like they are not making so much money just from the pure investment, if it's in athletes or events. It's more for marketing. But if we convince other companies to jump on it somehow, we just need to go and try. I mean, if you ask 100 people, eventually someone's going to say yes, right? And like market ourselves a little bit better, then it could work, definitely. What about your in-season training regime?
Well, I just wanted to add something quickly.
Yeah, please.
Because you just said like if you put out 100 requests, you might get one. But I think I put out about 100 requests for like sponsorships, and it's really sad, but there was nothing really accepted. So yeah, I think still like companies are not really interested in sponsoring athletes, because just the sport's not known enough, and they don't really see why they would put their name out there. So I think
Okay.
that was a bit tough to like realize, okay, they're really not that interested.
Okay, let's maybe dig into that a little bit, because if people hear this now and then it starts going, okay, she's the best, she's very known, she's all this help, she cannot get sponsorship, so why should I even try? Right? Because I would really like people not to have that mindset.
Yeah, I see.
Because for example, I was the very first sponsored athlete, round athlete in Europe in 2021,
Mm.
and I was definitely not one of the best. I
Mhm.
would say like back then I was okay by playing top 20, top 30. Some people may say it was hot take. It was also a long time ago when a lot of people did not play. But I just went, I pitched to the companies and it worked. And if you work on your pitch, and by pitch I mean what do you tell the companies? What are they actually getting? It's not okay, come and sponsor me. So can you maybe share, if you don't mind? I mean, you don't need to. What was your pitch, or what did you tell to the companies? Because maybe we can do kind of an exercise like how I would pitch it, or how we could structure it differently, and then
Mm.
and make a competition out of it worldwide. Go pitch it this way, and let's see what happens. But what did you ask? What did you tell the companies? Okay, like who you are, or what can they get? How did it look? Because 100 is a lot.
Yeah. Actually, I had a lot of help um by Colton. He did a lot with me for it. Yeah, so we did like different kinds of like templates, like really specific for each company, where we addressed like and kind of like yeah shared our values and maybe try to match it with their values. And then just offered what we thought would make sense to offer for them, like we gave options like what could we how could we advertise their brand or their name like on our social media, or putting their name on our jersey and stuff. So it was really not like, oh, please sponsor me. Like it was really like more than this, in a very like yeah bigger area kind of. um
It's
and yeah,
nice.
also yeah.
What been seeing, for example, is people, we are new round team, tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, we'll do 3 posts, 2 posts, and
Mm.
then they're just expecting companies to text them on Instagram or on Facebook, and they just do 1 post. And I'm like, okay, that's actually like not how marketing or sales work. We
Mm.
have a mutual friend, Mark Elburn from London Roundnet, and he has been working with a travel agency, and he's got some sponsors because he is going and saying it directly. And we actually had this conversation, I think, on Facebook a couple of years ago. It's not about people not wanting to sponsor rounded athletes, it's just we don't know how to ask, right? We
Mm.
don't show all the value, because even if we take, let's take you and me with 1,000 followers on Instagram as an example, that's not a lot of reach for a lot of companies. So we're not going to generate a lot of profit or leads for them. What I would do, or how I would approach it, is this is a very young sport. It's angel investment from your side. You get to be associated with something really cool, something where we have gender equality. It's very attractive. A lot of women do play the sport. It is cool. It is trendy. Athletes from NBA players to Chelsea goalkeepers or ice hockey players are playing this, and you can really grow. So it can improve your
Mm.
image, right? And then a little bit down the line is going to come and increase your sales. But maybe it's more of a PR, not going to say stunt, but PR move. Okay, we are supporting something new, something that's cool and in right now. And we are here to promote it, to associate your brand X with gender equality, more women in sport and ball games, as an
Mm.
example. I think if we approach it this way, we would probably get more better feedback, because I've been asked many times, where can I buy this, or how can I sponsor this? When I talk to people who don't know the sport, okay, where can I put the money? I'm like, okay, I mean, you can give it to me and I'll run great events, but there is not a system in place like as of now. Because I had a conversation with a friend of mine who has a clothing company, but his focus is in Bavaria, for example. So he doesn't really want to sponsor international athletes because that's not his target group. And I don't know how is it in Switzerland, but usually in Germany, the smaller clubs have so many more sponsors than the big
Oh,
ones.
really?
If it's in handball, if it's in football, because I know this guy, so he has a bakery. So okay, he's gonna give like a couple of €100 and then have it on the jersey. Or this person like has, I don't know, window cleaning service, whatever. So sometimes even like less is more. We don't have to go and
Mm.
ask Adidas or like big brands, because for them it's nothing. but maybe start smaller. I don't know, what kind of companies did you ask? Like, I guess wide range, or
Yeah,
how was it?
but mostly smaller ones.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, local ones, but also international ones.
Hmm.
Also like products that I already use, that I know that I can really like stand behind.
Hmm.
Yeah.
But well, good guys, let us know if you're listening. Go reach out, ask your uncles or people know. Okay, you can write it off taxes. Let's do this. You can donate, write off taxes. Less for the government, more for the people who are doing sports. Could be the slogan, but I don't know the tax laws in all the different countries. So that is more than fine. Laura, we've touched in already like on so many things. What I would be very interested in is about play styles in the US and Europe when it comes to Roundnet. Also, maybe the mentality, because you, as I said earlier, you won with Katie Pearson against the twins, which were unbeaten to, I think, 3 years in a row. So you played a couple of games against them. So what are the different playing styles, like playing in America first and playing in Europe, and then maybe specifically with twins?
I think first of all, like the vibe is very different, of course.
Mhm.
Not only like the community vibe, but also when you actually play. I'd say it's a bit more competitive in the US in general, but
Mhm.
in women's in the US, it's actually not, I'd say, more competitive than in Europe. I think we have, yeah, a lot like more women in Europe, and also a lot more good women in Europe. In the US, we have, yeah, let's say 5 really good teams, but I think after that, Europe is a bit better, or yeah, a lot better.
Yeah.
Um,
The depth, so to say, we have
yeah,
more teams that are playing on a higher level compared to the US.
yeah. And also like the rhythm when they play is very different. The first couple of times when I played in US, it was like really different, like just how much time you take in between points, how much you talk in between points. In the US, they talk a lot more. Just like comment everything, which like at first is very unusual and then like very different. So that was a big change, and something that I really needed adapted to at first. Also a lot more calling, I think, than
Mhm.
in Europe. So this was just like very different. But playing style, I'd say they do more with power,
Mhm.
less with like technique and, let's say, playing intelligence. It's now I'm talking for like women, but also men. They really like to use power for everything. I think in Europe it's more yeah, technical and aesthetic.
I heard a hot take. Sorry to interrupt you. Like in Europe, between the younger players and the older one, and by older I mean like late 20s, like the generation gap, that the young ones are more technical and more clean, like it looks more aesthetic.
Hmm.
Whereas the older ones, like let's say like myself, Fabi Klaus, whatever, used to be much more power.
Yeah,
So there's the difference in styles as well
yeah, for
between them. I
sure.
just want to point out like young and old, but like the old one, quotation mark, would almost win more often than not, because you have smaller margin of error if you just hit it hard, compared to if you're just always trying to flick it below the knees. Then obviously you're gonna have some roll ups, or you're gonna hit the rim from time to time. But yeah, sorry to interrupt you. So different styles, okay, more power in the US, and twins
Yeah.
specifically.
Well, with twins, it was more like also the vibe. I think they were really, really confident, which I wasn't really used to. So at first it was like very intimidating. I could really see that they don't lose. Um, so yeah, it was tough, and they are both very, very good. I mean, it's just 2 players in one team that can like do everything. So yeah, there was not really like a weakness. And also very consistent, and with like combined with that mindset and that like confidence, it's really hard to play and beat them. So yeah, I needed a couple tries. Very happy that we then managed to do it. It was, yeah, a really good experience. Yeah.
Another thing is that, for example, you're used to acing a lot of players, men or women, doesn't matter. But then you go and play against twins, you still get to ace them, but probably way less because they had so much more experience servicing because they're receiving the best Americans or Canadians, or they have been receiving much more often than as in Europe, even though Europe is obviously slowly catching up with the power of serves and the spins and the angles. But it was also, I think, one of the parts, right? That could have been a little bit frustrating for you because it was simply unknown, right?
Yeah, I could really tell that I need to like be really good in like all the different kind of aspects of the game, and not just in like serving is not enough. Most of the times I could do mistakes and like have setting errors and all of it, and still like win maybe a game just with serving. But I was really not like, I just really realized, okay, I need to be good in all parts of the game. And yeah, defensively, I think I can really get a lot better still. So that's my main focus, my main focus at the moment. So yeah, also because I realized that when I want to like play and beat them, I need to be like really good and not just like rely on one aspect of the game. Yeah.
And then we are now in Salt Lake City, and you're getting close. You're playing with Katie Pearson, American, also one of the top players in the world. And what is going on in your head as it's closing to the game? Like, okay, we can actually beat them. Was there was there a moment like that? Okay, just maybe a little bit, and then finally we're gonna beat them, or not so much? You were just all business. I mean, obviously we're all business because you don't go to the other side of the world just to have fun. You go to win and have fun.
Well, on that day we already had a pool play against them, and we did
Okay.
1-1. So we
Mhm.
took one set from them, which already showed me, okay, we can actually win a set. We can actually win against them. And I think it also maybe did something in their head, probably that they lost a set against us. And we also played really well in that pool play already. So my feeling going into the final was already really good. And really from there on, I didn't really have the option in my head that we're gonna lose. I was so sure that we're gonna win this. Yeah, so that day I was really feeling that it's very possible, and that yeah, we can do it. And then it was, yeah, I think everything really was like in good, how do you say, yeah, it just
Frame of
felt really good. Like I was really like in the zone, and I was really like, I really wanted it and played well. So yeah.
Now, speaking of twins, a lot of people don't know this about you, that you actually do have a twin sister, and you're identical twins. And you both were on the you served as a lot of surprise, especially during Worlds. And I must say, because my favorite joke during the Worlds party, that I would be pulling out with the Americans, everyone's like, yeah, you've seen Laura. I was like, yeah, of course. I was like, really, have you? And look, here's Laura as well. There would be two of you, like you know, like rerouting, like how much did I drink? Like, what's going on? And it was so fun. So does your sister play?
Well, she played a couple of tournaments. I think she actually played more tournaments than she attended practices or than she drew. And her quote is really well, because she played with like probably all of the good players in Switzerland she played yet. So yeah, and actually I just figured that out a couple of days ago. She's now 9th place in Switzerland, still on the ranking, which is pretty funny because she hasn't really been playing for a long time. Yeah, she's really busy with her stuff. She's doing a lot. But she's having fun when she plays, which is not often. But sometimes I make jokes that we're gonna play Worlds together. Um,
Would it be a dream come true?
Yeah, for sure. We played one tournament last I think summer here in Switzerland. It was one of my most one of my favorite tournaments. I think it was so much fun just because I could really tell that she has this competitive mindset as well, and then sometimes I could really like see myself like in her, how she like aces someone on match point or stuff, and I was like, yeah, it was very special. Um, and yeah, we were also just talking about the world situation a couple of days ago because she's thinking about coming to Bern to watch the ATS. Because for her it was a really crazy experience to be at the Worlds and so many people like being confused and really didn't like look at her and were like, something's different, maybe it's Laura, maybe it's not. So that was, for her, it was really crazy. She had a lot of funny moments, a lot
Oh,
of funny.
that is so awesome. I remember when I realized that, I was like, oh my God, like we need to make up like the twins again, the other twins, the Europe and the US. I had the entire storyline already. We're gonna mark his like Jake Paul, Mike Tyson, like in terms of round night. It'll be so cool. Like it's gonna be, I'll change jobs, I'll move to Switzerland, I'll coach you, and then like we go and gonna be the twins. So maybe one day
Yeah, for the books, for the history, would have been really
it
fun.
would have been so funny. So because I don't get to meet a lot of identical twins. I mean, obviously I met twins in the years of
Mm.
my travels and like some other while growing up. But have you ever switched places in school or wrote tests? I mean, this is a cliche, but did you
It
do
is,
something?
but yeah, actually we did, yes. Um, yeah, so when we grew up, we looked very identical.
They do.
Yeah, like
We'll get a
yeah.
picture.
Well, now I have short hair. Now it's very easy. But our style was a bit more similar back in the days. So she would always wear red, and I would always wear blue colors, so that people could tell us apart. So it was actually very easy to just switch identities with just switching the colors. So sometimes in school, maybe like once a year, we changed, sat at each other's like places in the classroom, and really some people didn't get it, and also some teachers didn't get it. It was very funny, but we never used it to like write tests or something for each other. We maybe should have done that, but we weren't brave enough to do that. And also, I think it was last year, we had like a New Year's party here at our place. And I think nowadays our styles are very different, how we dress. So we switched everything. Like we went out of the room and we would switch all the clothes. And then we came back and people were so confused. I was sitting on her boyfriend's lap and like cuddling him, and at first he didn't even realize. Um, yeah, but then it was just,
Oh, that's hilarious.
yeah.
Were you competitive while growing up? Because I have a little sister, but like it's not very competitive. You have like 4-year-old brother, in sports or whatever. I mean, still compete subconsciously, whatever. But very competitive in sports, or I don't know, in school. Like, okay, who's doing better? Or your parents were like, no, I mean, you're a team. Let's not compete against each other.
Um, No, I don't think we were ever very competitive. I know that it's like a thing that twins can be very competitive with each other, but we really weren't. We were more. It sounds a bit too nice, but we were very like supporting each other. And also we were always in the same class, in the same like friends
Okay.
group, more or less.
Mhm.
Um, so we had a lot of like same environment, and so we'd always do like homework together and help each other. Um, and of course, like sometimes we played stuff like, oh, who's better, but it was never like in a negative way or like in a way that we would
Mhm.
fight or beat each other up or something. Yeah. And still, like to this day, we are very supporting with each other. We also live together in an apartment, which is really nice. So yeah.
Would you recommend having an identical twin? Because at least I always dream about having a brother who would be like the same, so we could like help each
Mm.
other out on tests. Like would be good in math, me in languages or whatever. But it must be so cool. Like,
Yeah, I would definitely recommend it if it had a choice. Yeah, of course the relationship has to be good, but ours is really good. We're having a lot of fun. And it's also like having just like a very good friend, but that's also family. So yeah.
Just the
Right.
bone and no own blood, and then I have very good family. I'm very fortunate about it. But like the more people you meet, then you realize it's actually I've made have been taken for granted. You know, have a good relationship
Mm.
with your sibling or with your parents, uncles. But then like now I realize like it's so great, and I love my family dearly. I'm very fortunate. We didn't have a lot of money, whatever. Like, you know, but I did not ever had to starve compared to like some members of my family back in the day. So it's been great, but it's just so cool, you know, because we live in a society where people just don't talk each other because of egos and family members, and I think it's just sickening, you know, like just
Mm.
forgive, move on, and stuff like that. But it's really cool, like, switching up, even at this day and age. And
Yeah.
when you were trying, like not trying to convince your sister to play, like coaching her, what would be your approach? Would you do drills, and were there specific drills you would do with her, or you would just be like, let's go play, have fun? How was it? Because it's a
Um,
different coaching style. If you're coaching someone you really know very well, like
mhm,
looks like you even, and then like someone who's foreign, right? Like who you don't know.
mhm. Yeah, no, it was actually very easy to coach her because she was also a very fast learner, I think. And I could just say whatever I want. Like I didn't really think, oh, how am I gonna like say this? I was just like
Mhm,
talking. And she would understand everything, and she could also like copy a lot of stuff.
mhm,
I think it also helped a lot that she watched so much.
mhm,
Like she would watch stream and stuff, so she really knows the game. She just hasn't played it as much. So, but that really helped because she knows, okay, it has to look like this, or like it's more like copying. Um, yeah, and there was, I think, one like once when we played the tournament, like a week before, we're like, oh, maybe she should come to practice. Like once before we played the tournament, then she came to practice, and it was really like bad. Like she was really not feeling it, and like almost forgot everything how it works. And then we said, okay, we're gonna do another session, like just a one-on-one session before the tournament. And we went to the park and we just did like drills. We did every hit and like setting and just like a little breakdown of everything. And like she did everything like so well. It was really like different person than in the practice a couple of days before. And then on the tournament day, she just played like really, really well. Um, she
So
just understands a lot very, very quickly. And also with like the competitive mindset, like in the clutches moment, she would come and just it
really, this is
was
something.
so much fun.
I've seen that before. Okay, nice. And now you've been coaching your sister or like helping her out, but you also recently returned from Portugal, and there was also some sort of
Mm.
Roundnet event or training camp for
Mhm.
people who didn't get it on social media. Because what was it about? It was, I think, part of a beach volleyball camp, right? And you work with Becky from the UK.
Yes, so it was a program. So they offer camps. It's mostly beach volleyball, but there
Mhm,
was like this year it was new that they offered Roundnet for like
mhm,
1 week. Um, so it was Becky and me, Becky from England,
mhm,
who's running the Spikeball coaching program. So very experienced coach. We did it together, and it was like a group of students from English universities that attended this week. So it's a lot of players that play more local tournaments in England. So they weren't like very experienced with tournaments. So it was more
mhm.
like, let's say, intermediate, advanced level, which is, I think, quite easy to coach because they can still like learn a lot, and it's kind of easy to say like what they could improve and what they could do different. So um yeah, that was really nice. And also Becky is like really experienced in coaching. So we would talk every night before the day and like talk everything through. And it was really nice to share thoughts and to see like how she thinks about the game and about exercises. So I think I learned a lot from her. Actually, she's very fascinating in how she does all of it. Yeah, so it was just clinic every morning and then some kind of tournament format in the afternoon. Yeah, very long days.
Very long days.
Yeah.
I remember talking to Becky for the first time, I think 2021, when she started Spike It coaching, and we had a great conversation because she has an academic background teaching at universities and teaching sport, and she really sees it like from different perspective on the Roundnet, but a lot of variations. And it's just been so great to watch her work. And once I saw that you guys are in Portugal, I was like, okay, this is so cool. What were the drills that you were doing with these kind of players, intermediate, advanced, and what were maybe the common mistakes? Because there are a lot of things that can be fixed very easily if you have someone from the outside tell you. So what were some of those mistakes here in the training camp?
Well, if I have to say something specific, I would say it's like the lack of footwork. I think we did a lot of like how to move to the ball and how to use your feet to like be in a good position. I think that's something that is very underestimated. Even if with better players, it's something that can be improved a lot. So we did a lot of this. But also the camp was on beach, so on sand, so it was really tough to focus on good footwork. But yeah, we did a lot of like exercises where we would like do a lot of reps just to like kind of automate the movement and stuff and like really understand how it's going. Yeah, and also a lot of just playing. Like all afternoon we would just play. I think in the beginning it's really important to just play a lot and really get to know all the different kinds of scenarios in the game. Yeah.
And what was some kind of feedback or things that you learned from Becky as a mentor, you could say? Because when you talk about, okay, what went well in the training session, was more about like your coaching personality or technique? What were some of the key takeaways? And I'm also taking notes.
I think I learned a lot about like management, like how to transfer from each exercises to the next one, like how to optimize that, because sometimes when you plan, you tend to forget like, okay, now we just did an exercise with 2 people, now we suddenly do it exercise with 3 people, now we're going back to 2 people. And sometimes it's like confusing if you like they're like actually doing it, it's like, oh, that doesn't make sense. So I learned a lot in that area. And yeah, also maybe like I think most of the times I tend to like say way too much. I think it's better to just say something like clear, but something that really sticks, like just one comment that really makes sense, instead of like explaining like 10 minutes. Yeah, so I try to give more like, okay, you like today you focus on this, try to do this instead of this.
Have
I
your
think
elbow high would be, for example, one of
yeah,
the
like very
examples. I think, yeah.
yeah, it's way better than like talking through everything, because it's just too overwhelming. Yeah.
Exactly. You want to have a concise message. You say, okay, keep your elbow high. And then you may say, so in the future, you can hide your other hits. You know, maybe now you only have one hit, which is open, but then later on, you can also do the pull and push from the same position. So I want to teach you the fundamentals so everything looks the same, right? Like we are building a house. And I was just smiling because, as I said, the Roundnet Austria coaching for coaches, I said the same thing, but be mindful when you're planning your session. Like you have pairs, then do exercises that have 4 people in it, and then you can go back to 2 people. Because what a lot of people don't realize, you're losing, not only it's confusing, but you're losing a lot of time. And the training session has limited amount of time. And if you spend just like 5 minutes mixing the teams and everything, you are not getting in the reps. And so those are the things that they teach us at the university or when you're in school and you have good mentors as a PE teacher, because this is the difference between teaching in the classroom, where you also have groups of 2, 3, 4, maybe of group work, but not as often as in the gym. And that is quite fascinating because I love, training camps. The very first training camp I ran was at the beach in Bibione in Italy in 2020. And then, as I said, Danny Cadlets from Terrence came to me like, Jakub, everything was great, but I don't like the sand. Like, make it on turf. And then I was looking for turf fields. And then like Mallorca kind of happened. What
Nice.
So what were the difference between that coaching, for example, like in Portugal, and then you being a player in Mallorca, like high level training camp, where you also held a clinic, a great one. People were so happy you held the clinic with Fabi Klaus, was beautifully set and arranged. But what were some of the difference? Obviously, the level of players, but let's say in mindsets, can it be even compared?
Yeah, I think it can be compared. Yeah, I think they were very advanced. They knew a lot, so I knew that okay, maybe I should really like tell them stuff that they haven't heard before.
In Mallorca, yeah.
In Mallorca, yeah. So that was kind of like challenging. I think it's, yeah, as I said, it's way easier to see common mistakes with like intermediate players than with very advanced players, because a lot of times people just figured out something for themselves that works, and like you really need to think, okay, does it make sense to change this, or is it maybe something that really works for that person? Well, so yeah, I think that's very challenging, and that's something that I can really like get better at, to like really understand someone's playing style and see, okay, it makes sense to maybe switch that up, that this and this doesn't happen. But most of the times you like have to let the people do what they figured out works for themselves, and then like maybe see how they can improve in that kind of area. Yeah.
And lastly, Laura, my question is, what is your training, or do you have favorite exercises that you swear by, that you would always do when you go and practice with Ines, for example, your team partner for the season, or Cedric? Like, what is, if we do the 80-20 principle, what are the exercises you feel helped you the most in terms of Roundnet? So we give people something very specific. They can go, they finish listening to this, and they can go, they take the net, or maybe even don't have to take the net, and can go and do straight away.
Mhm. I think what helped me the most is just playing with one more person, so just two people at one net. I did it a lot, or still do it a lot. I think you get a lot of touches. You're constantly moving, and you have to do all the different kinds of shots. And you're also like, you always like moving. It's not like, I don't really like isolated repetitional like exercises for myself, because I think it's very not game specific. I think it's good to learn a shot, but then you actually need to know how to use it while you're moving. So I think one-on-one is a great way to just know how to hit a shot from every position you're in. And then also like do one-on-one, but with different like focuses. Like let's say you always set off net, or you're like touching it somewhere else, so you can do a recovery set just with like different focuses. I think that's something that I really like swear on, and it's also like a lot of fun. You can do like everything within this kind of system. Yeah. And then for serving, I'd say I really like, I just found it out this off season. It's called the double fault game, where you just count your mistakes and you try not to make too many double faults. So it's an exercise where you really like you're under pressure, and you can kind of fake this pressure from a tournament, because you really want to keep your numbers low, not don't make any double faults. So I really like that a lot. Yeah.
Because sometimes you're not even aware how many double faults you may feel, okay, I served so well, and then you look at the stats and you're like, oh, I have 50%, or you think, oh, this was completely terrible, and it's like, oh, I hit 80% of my serves. So the things that we perceive are very subjective, and it takes skill or like video analysis to see, oh no, actually it was fine. And once we are more aware of this, I like the double fault game a lot, is then you can actually improve Like we would do game forms when if you double fault, you would lose points, or you can do like the opponent gets 3 points instead of 1. So it stimulates also in pickups or in training to get, as you said, more touches, which I really want to underscore because so important. Just get the touches in people. Touch is all about the touches. Then you get to play more. Sure, you can serve more, but you can do that also alone or just one-on-one. But when you have the opportunity, go for the game. Sure, the game on the highest level is a lot of serve ball, but in order to get there, you need to get those touches in. So 1, 2, 3, and then just mess around with these people. Do tweeners, body blocks, and stuff like that.
Yeah, I think for me also at the moment it's very a big thing to not make double faults, especially when I play with Ines. Like I'm very motivated for defense. She kind of like really injected me with the defense fire. So I try to get not like on her energy level, but to match it a bit more, and to just give it all in defense. So you need to put on serves to do that. So also my mindset switched a bit from like hitting a good serve to just hit a serve so you can play defense.
And now we're going to the last segment of the show, and we actually have first time ever fans questions from fans. So one question from one person is, what is your favorite soup?
Favorite soup?
Yeah.
Very easy answer. It's ramen. It's a Japanese noodle soup.
Okay. So it's a great answer. What is the match you remember the most and why? Or a series you want to talk about?
Well, I think there's a lot of different crazy matches that I remember, but now that you just asked, the thing that came to my mind was Mallorca when I played with Lucas in mixed. I think we really matched that day, and we really worked together, and that just felt really nice. And we had a lot of tight games that we had to like fight back and come back, and we kind of managed. I think we started 6-0 against
Levy.
0-6 against Levy, and we somehow fight back. That was kind of magical, and also there were so many people, so like such a big crowd. And then we also won the final against Natasha and Buddy, which was also really nice. And tight.
You clutched up. I think you made 3 breaks towards the end. You aced Buddy, you aced Natasha, River Scott, and people are still thinking about it every time we are on that.
That was a really fun moment. And well, also I think the mixed day of Worlds was also very crazy. Like the Thursday on the World Championship where I played with Ramon from Switzerland. And so every country just had one team, and like all the other people, which was hundreds of people, would just watch and support, and every game would just feel like a final. That was also crazy.
Yeah, I remember you playing against Nelson and Megan in the semifinals when you had the Austrian crowd and the Swiss, because the finals, I mean, there were some Americans, but the semifinals went so in deep extras, and oh my goodness, there are fans' reactions doing Benny and like going completely nuts, and that was the first-class entertainment, world-class entertainment. Like wow, like this is Run, this is what we came here to see, and these athletes are delivering this show for us, and it was really awesome. So for you, okay, with Lucas coming back from 0-6, nice. And that's a favorite game. And what was a favorite win? That's the last question.
Favorite win?
Could it be like the very first one you ever played? Could it be like completely from the outside perspective, not important, but for you? Could have been even in the first round, like, I don't know. Favorite win?
I think it was Paris, like 2 years ago, probably. I played with Cedric. I was a time where we played so much. We would practice all day. We had like, too much time, and we would just practice so much. It was crazy because it was a tournament where we played. I think it was maybe one of the first times that we played international mixed, and we won. And we won against, I think, Paul and Alexa in the final. And like before that day, we would always like be like, oh, do you think it's possible? And you think we can do it? And then we somehow pulled it off, and that was very special also because we did it together. And we had such a good friendship, such a deep friendship. So it was a crazy experience. It was so nice to see that we were able to do this and that our practice pays off, and that we beat really good players. So that was a crazy day.
I think
And also, yeah, just a lot of friends were there from like also from our home club and stuff. So it was just really nice to like be all together and experience it all together.
And you won Paris the year after as well with Clara. But I believe this is now the perfect way to end this, because like winning it all with your very good friend, person you've put so much work in, because you've put in the reps, and then you played those very first Spikeball 2 series event in Europe in 2022. And they were amazing teams. I mean, Paul, Alexa, like they became European champions later on. There was Nora playing with Preston Bias, right? Who also did not make it top 4. I played with Katie. So amazing. The 75, I believe, mixed division. And then you come out at the top with one of your best friends. I mean, I don't think it gets any better than that.
Yeah.
Laura, thank you so much for taking this time. I mean, it's been a blast. I'm having goosebumps because I've learned again something new about you and how you think about stuff, and how you in German would say tick. Yeah, what's going on in that head. And I still stand by it. I mean, you're such an inspirational person in our Roundnet community, and also I hope now we can reach more people. The girls, don't feel like you don't deserve the success. No, just stand up, be there tall. Women, go out there, go play, go hard, kick ass, kick men's ass. If we are not gonna, we deserve it. That's definitely a way to go.
That's the way.
And this is the way to just keep doing what you're doing. Laura, where can people find you on social media, for example, so they can keep up with your journey?
Yeah, I would just say Instagram. So it's just, I think, Laura / Kunzelmann. Or maybe without anything in between, just my name. Yeah.
Yeah, Laura, because I'll link it up anyway so people can look up to you. Not only look up to you, but look you up as well. We are not English native speakers, so guys, forgive us our mistakes. We take our best. But we don't claim to have all the answers or that we are perfect, unless it's Laura on the Roundnet court almost every single time. Laura, thank you so much. And I can't wait to see you very soon. And simply attacke.
Thank you, Jakub.
Future Roundnet.